Okay, here we are. This will be an overview of the Queue Manager features and function. When you log in as a Queue Manager, you're going to land at this screen. There'll be a box that will come up and ask for your PIN number. It's a 4-digit PIN. Put that in, and you'll be able to access the screen. It's a security measure when the system times out, so you don't have to re-input your user credentials. You can just put in this PIN. So this is the user interface pre-COVID. Somebody might come up to a desk or a customer service person in the middle of the mall and maybe asking to join a queue or get in line. And what they would do is you just put in their name. This is their phone number field. There's a memo field that's here if you want to pass along information to the queues. Because remember, the folks in the queues are remote. They're not in close proximity, so they really don't have a view of the customer. So in this case, you might have a customer with a wheelchair. Again, we're always trying to give step along the customer journey information so they can create a better experience for the customer. And so put that in place. I think my number's already in there, so just put another number. And then here is where they can select a queue. Now, if somebody calls up because they don't have a text messaging, customer service can put them in the virtual lobby. But this is more of an example if folks are within a building and need to be moved around. So here we can put them in. You'll say customer added. And then you'll see the customer is dropped in here. Their position. This is to notify them when it's their turn. This is the customer name. Now, in the customer name, staff, as they experience the customer, can update. In other words, put additional notes in here. And so if they have to move the customer on to another queue, to another department, that department will be informed. And when they note here, it will show up here. So in other words, staff doesn't have to go out of their way and opening up the little file. They'll be able to see it here. That's really effective for communication purposes and customer service. Okay, over here, it's how you would transfer a customer. So let's say customer service exchange is done, and put in and we're going to send them to shopping checkout. So now the customer is moved up to checkout. Customer is going to get that transfer message saying you're number one in checkout. When checkout's ready to see them, they click notify. And here you'll see you have two choices: only notify and serve. So what this is about is recording the transaction time. When we notify somebody, we're waiting for them to come for service. Now, once they arrive, we click notify again, and we then click serve. Now, what this does is it signals to the system that the customer has arrived, and now the customer is being served. And so now the clock is starting, and we're recording the transaction time from when this turn to went from serve, and then when the customer, if the transaction is successful, you'll press served, and that will record the transaction as a successful transaction in one of the reports. However, if the customer needs to be moved to another department, once you transfer them to that other department, the transaction time or the performance time stops here, and they get moved over to the other department, and the clock starts there. So this is all about tracking. And here's the notes kind of show up here. This is what we call it's an individual log, a delivery report. If there's any questions about a message getting delivered or some issue, staff has immediate access to understand, one, the time the message was sent, the content of the message, and then here, if the message was delivered, it would say delivered. If it was blocked, it would say blocked. So that way the customer would be aware of what happened. And in this case, it was a fake number, so there's nothing here. Actually, I don't think there was a number at all. And this is important because you, from time to time, will have customers who, you'll move to the no-show queue. They'll claim they just got the message. when in fact they got the message 30 minutes ago. So this is important data. The other option you have is the ability to individually freehand text a customer in the system. So one example could be if a customer left their wallet or purse behind. You have that ability. Or it could be resolving a customer service complaint. Now, it's only one way. It only goes out to the customer. And usually you would include something like, any questions, give us a call and include your phone number. But this is a very effective tool as well. Okay, so let's take a look at how customers are going to really join this queue under COVID. So over here, you'll have your components, and they're also here. So if you click kiosk, the kiosk will show up. Now it's rendering kind of funny because it's on a really big screen. So what will happen here is a customer will approach. They'll have to look through, hopefully they'll read through our message delivery requirements. So this avoids any hardship or angst because their mobile number is blocked or they're using some strange sort of VoIP messaging. And so at this point, and like for example, T-Mobile, usually you sign up for T-Mobile and they put a business messaging block on your phone. And most T-Mobile customers are aware of that, have it removed. But in this case, we're telling them that it's a case and actually call T-Mobile. And it works well. It takes 2 minutes and T-Mobile will remove it. So based on the operating hours of my queue, this is when I should be able to enter the queue. And so here is where the customer, whether it's from their mobile phone through signage in the parking lot or on the website or some mailing that went out to them advising them this is how they access to come into the store through the virtual queue. The customer will put in their name, preferably their number. In the cell phone, those without a cell phone, it's only like 10%, maybe 8% of the population. But if they don't want to put in a cell phone, they don't have to. And then here, they have their selection. Now, in this case, it's a virtual lobby that they're going to need to get into. But actually, what you could have is this is a virtual lobby. So we wouldn't even have this as a queue. What they're doing here is going to pick a queue that they want to get into. That's going to put them in the lobby, and that's where they're going to wait. So we really don't need this. In other words, this is a virtual lobby. That's what they're getting into, and these are the services that they want and what they'll wait for. I just wanted to review that with you, that you can just have these services. Okay, and we'll say I want to get in. You see here, customer service. Okay, I'll say I'm customer service, and I need to do an exchange. Hit join queue. Customer add. So the customer knows that they've been added. There's no glitch. Now the customer will wait for an auto response message. And if they don't get one, then they'll know there's something up. And usually in your kiosk, you would have for support and put a support number. Okay, so let me see. I can peek here if I want. Oh, there I am. Check out. Okay, so and there's Aaron. There I am. And now you can see here it says not arrived. And that means I'm not there yet. And so the point of that is pretty straightforward. Again, we want to keep the flow of customers. Let's say somebody else comes through the queue. So I was just added to the queue. And now if we go over to the queue manager screen, this is what the queue managers would see. You'd have one for each department, or you can have one for all the departments because we're virtually managing folks where they go. So how you want to set it up. So here I went into the customer service exchange. Then you click on that, And what you'll see is that I'm number one in the exchange line. However, I haven't arrived yet. And so the reason why we do this is because if you have folks joining a queue who aren't there, this is going to cause a bottleneck and slow down the customer flow. And that's also going to limit the number of people who can come through because we have COVID restrictions. Creates a whole host of issues. So by this being here, there's no, this button doesn't work. In other words, you can't serve me. I'm frozen until I arrive. So what that really means that staff just needs to step back and just serve the next people, next customers that are ready to go. Because physically I'm not there. And in this case, now I'm that person's out of the way. Now we're moving Karen up. This means they're in the transaction. It's done, and click serve. And we have Lily Allen. She's notified. Now she comes up. She's served, but she needs to go to. She wants to go to the checkout, but she wants to go shopping. So move her over. Now she's up here and shopping. Now I'm still here. So when I arrive, what will happen is you'll open up this kiosk right here, and you can, down here you can click and see more. So this is the check-in kiosk, and click on that. It's not, oh, so let's join adoption. So this will add some copy as to what folks are supposed to do, but the point here is we want folks who come in through the portal to check in because we don't want to bottleneck stuff. So they'll click here, and then now this is usually in an iPad or a touchscreen monitor, and start to type your name in. You'll say your name and the queue, so that helps validate. And then if you have a phone number, it's going to show it down here. And we're also collecting, we're also getting consent to text them now. And then click check-in. And this says the number already exists. So we wouldn't be able to validate through that. So here we go. Now you can see detailed confirmation, Brandon, my number, where I'm going. This verifies me, my phone number, and now if we go back over here, open and close, now I'm able, this means I'm actually on campus, they can notify me. And at that point, well, I'll show you this log so you can see what it looks like. So for example, right here, because I changed my number, right here, you will show delivery failed, invalid message. So if somebody has an issue with getting the messages and you see this, what staff would do is basically ask them, well, what number did you put in? And you'll be able to see here. So for example, I transposed the last number. So well, it was my fault and didn't get the message. So that's how handy that is. So anyhow, I've been notified and now I arrive. We click serve and the transaction has commenced and the time is counting. And if you have folks that are walk-ins, pulling up, come in here, and we don't want them walking in the building either, so they don't have to put in a number, as I mentioned. If we have a digital display, check out, we'll pick up, and hit join. And now if we go look at the pickup, at the checkout, you'll see how John isn't frozen? It's because he's on campus. So again, that's the whole process of creating efficiency here. So here, this is where folks check in remotely. They join the queue, and they'll be in the queue, but they can't be processed through the queue until they come here and check in. And once they check in, they're active in the queue. This is all part of fairness too. And then also your remote, your walk-ins come through here. And that's about as complicated as it is. The other feature is if you have an issue where you need to notify everyone, you can click SMS all, and that broadcasts to everybody in that particular queue.